Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. I am your host, Mike Dolce, joined as always by my cohort in crime, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Let's do this.
All right, we're getting through the nuts and bolts of being in the same room together. Progress is a good thing. We've got a great show tonight. We are talking Loki, episode 2. The mystery villain has been revealed, but apparently to Hassan it was never a mystery. At all, and the mass internet.
It was the internet. You paid attention to this field that you've entered into.
Yeah.
And, stop.
I try to stay off the internet.
Stop listening to sports shows and listen to actual pop culture stuff.
I try to stay off the internet as much as humanly possible.
Well, then don't call me out for being a know-it-all. That's BS. All right. Go ahead.
I love it.
Go on with your damn show.
I love it. We've got actor Jason Tobias on talking about the new movie that he's in, F.E.A.R. F.E.A.R.
Did you
an
see that
acronym.
movie? Did you watch that movie?
I did. It was very well performed. I thought there was a lot of great performances in it. It's a zombie
Just checking
movie.
to see if you saw it, Mr. Ozark.
Zombie movie in the Great White North. I started up on Ozark again, but then I got diverted by
I want to hear it.
by a Bob Lazar.
I'm never talking to you about Ozarks again, so it's just a done deal. Like,
really?
That window is closed.
Oh,
That window
man.
is absolutely closed.
But we start tonight with the big trend. Holy face game Batman. This was a story that started trending, and I know you feel pretty strongly about this as a non-story. I actually kind of agree with you, but I think it's still kind of funny. People are talking about it. So apparently, Batman's got. I can't even do this. I'm like 12 years old right now.
I'm not going to help you.
The producers of Harley Quinn were talking about things that they are allowed to do and things they're not allowed to do. And one of the things they're not allowed to do, apparently, is to show Batman going down on Catwoman. It was revealed in a Variety article talking about the Harley Quinn show. It's unique among current crop of comic content that its main character and all of her closest allies are villains. It lets us do things with the characters that heroes simply cannot do. It's incredibly gratifying and free. A perfect example, in the 3rd season of Harley, we had a moment where Batman was going to go down on Catwoman. And DC was like, you can't do that. You absolutely cannot do that. They're like, heroes don't do that. So we said, are you saying heroes are just selfish lovers? They were like, no, we sell consumer toys for heroes. It's hard to sell a toy if Batman is also going down on someone. The caveat to this is there's a couple caveats to this, which I think is interesting, right? And this is the pro and against argument to all this kind of thing. I get it in the sense that when they meant heroes don't do that, they were not necessarily talking about the actual sex act in question. They were talking more so about the fact that, again, this is an iconic character. It is something that they definitely don't want plastered everywhere to be known. Now, mind you, they also had the black and white bat penis thing go on last year, so that's the argument against this thing, right? It's the con of this, if you will, is the inconsistency of all of this. Am I right? You can't even get it. See, you were yelling at me, but you can't get through this either. I think it's great.
I just think it's nonsense.
Yeah.
I just think all of it is nonsense.
Yeah.
I can totally see why you wouldn't want Batman to do elaborate sex acts. Whereas if you depict him making love with a woman, that's within the realm of acceptability, I guess. Or,
right.
At least it's tame. But if he's doing elaborate sex acts and stuff like that, no, you're not going to want your brand doing that. If you want the sire doing that, you want someone else.
Only if I need a $20,000 Kickstarter. No, it's true. I agree with you 100%. I guess my question for you, Hassan, is
I don't know why you're asking me any questions because I unlike you, I kept my nose to the ground about the pop culture stuff that we are actually discussing, like Loki and these other things.
Yes.
So I knew a lot about that stuff. This I completely avoided because it just seemed like nonsense to me. So naturally, you're opening with it. So, all right.
The reason I'm opening with it, and that's actually the question I'm posing you, is this news is news simply things that people are talking about? Are we compelled as a talk show to talk about things that people are talking about? Is it, and this is not in the realm of anything dangerous, really, I would say, right? Controversial maybe, but not dangerous. Is it something that should be news? And is news simply something that everyone's talking about, make it news?
I think it's anecdotally funny. It's not news. I mean, we're not the only ones. I've seen a bunch of reputable outlets talking about this.
Right.
I think it's nonsense.
Right.
Of course, there's things that they're not going to let you do.
Right.
And I mean, you're lucky. You're lucky you have the Harley Quinn. First of all, the Harley Quinn phenomenon in and of itself, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn's fine or whatever. I don't understand it because she's an okay character, but she's, it's mostly irreverence and and lunacy and a whole bunch of bad puns.
Right.
But okay. So you want to stretch it out. You want to stretch that goal into, like, we're doing a full-on adult cartoon about adult issues and adult themes. That's great. If Warner Brothers doesn't want, if Warner Brothers lets their Batman be in an adult cartoon, starring Harley Quinn, that basically showcases the villain's point of view and everything, should probably be happy with that. Should probably stop trying to F over the image of these other characters outside of the genre. Right. Now, mine is arguably a conservative point of view, so fair enough, and conservative not in the political sense, but in the sense of like the moral, taking a moral high ground. Right. Right. But I mean, I don't really care. Yeah. It goes down. I couldn't care less.
I think ultimately, it just kind of represents what today's news is and what today's news cycles are.
Yeah, today's news is nothing.
It's really a story of nothing. It is something that I know we kind of opened where it was kind of a joke, and that was, it is a joke in a sense, right?
I hope so.
But there is that level of FOMO, right? If we don't cover it, are we missing out? Are we not covering things that people are talking about?
Fair enough.
Right? It kind of puts us in a weird.
I agree, but fair enough. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, but I think if you promulgate it, I think it lives. Yeah. If you deprive it of oxygen, it dies. Yeah. If you keep breathing life into it to talk about whether you should be breathing life into it, then it lives regardless of what your opinion is.
Yeah. No, I know, and that's always the crapshoot in all that. All right, we want to talk about something that's really good, like that's actually that fits our wheelhouse and has nothing to do with the face game.
This setup is always dicey, so just ask. Don't try to get me complicit in it before you.
No. I think it's totally something we should be doing. We should be talking about Loki season 1, episode 2. All right.
You did watch this, right?
I did, yes. I was up early to watch it to make sure that I got it in, before all heck broke loose. But absolutely, yes.
What kind of heck's breaking loose, man?
I got kids, man. They're home. They're home now. That's it. Like
You live a charmed life. You ain't got no heck breaking loose. I'm kidding.
There's heck all the time breaking loose.
All the time.
It's not good. It's always not
so
good.
Hectic it turns hectic. And that's not heck, it's hack.
I don't even know how that happens, but yes. Essentially, that is exactly it. I've got this wonderful picture frame. We're in studio again. This is good. We're tinkering in studio as we kind of do this.
See how this goes.
Okay, just flashed across the screen. The mystery villain was revealed. However, I put a giant red spoilers dot. I don't know how else to describe it. I did that.
I know it wasn't. I mean, anyone looking at it could still tell it's a woman, so it's still a spoiler because we don't know who the woman is.
I think it was.
The spoiler is the spoiler would be that Loki's a woman.
Yes.
So you still, no matter.
I definitely tried to do.
No matter what you did, you kind of.
So I was screwed no matter what.
Well, you screwed the whoever comes across your page.
That could be a man. I think that could definitely be a man. I think so. No, you don't think so?
It's got blonde hair and whatever. Everybody knows it's not Loki.
Well, yeah, it could be the. Well, it also could be the Enchantress.
It's got Loki's outfit on.
I covered that up with the
green and the horns, but I can still see the horns.
I know. I did make the horns kind of evidence so that we would see them.
Yeah, dude. Let's just come on. Face the facts here, man.
All right. So if you haven't watched it yet, spoilers. Lady Loki is the mystery villain, or at least the variant that they've been chasing thus far. And so far, the thing that I'm most impressed with in this series in 2 episodes is twofold. One, how fast-paced everything seems to go, even though there's a lot of periods of dense information that they're trying to get across, but it never feels too dense. There was the sequence where Owen Wilson and Loki are kind of talking, and he's asking about the nexus of realities, and he's asking about all this stuff. It's enough where, yes, it's dense. Yes, I admit at 6:30 in the morning, I didn't think too hard about it either. I didn't try to think too hard about it, but I didn't, at the same time, get thrown off by anything that they were saying to the point where I was taken out of the story. Is that something that you would agree with?
I would agree with that. I think, I still find it a little dense. Mm-hmm. But I think that they're repeating it over and over again, and they're doing it with a kind of tongue-in-cheek style that makes you know what parts you're supposed to be listening to versus what parts you're not supposed to be listening to,
right.
Or it doesn't matter whether you hear it or not. So that's pretty good. I also like the sequence in the tent in the very beginning where Loki was trying to fake them out, and
yeah,
and Owen Wilson just gets quiet for a few minutes and goes, he's lying, and then they, but there's no big fanfare about it. It's just like, nah, he's telling us a lie.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good. Showed a little bit how formidable Mobius is.
Yeah.
And that Loki's probably not going to see the light. If he sees the light at all, he's going to see the light late in the series. He hasn't come around yet. Although, because we live in an age where there are really no villains.
Right.
And I think the closest the MCU has to an outright 100% villain is Thanos.
Yeah.
And even they tried to make 3-dimensional with a motive that seemed that he in his madness had skewed into altruism. Mm-hmm. But it really was just twisted, and you've just killed half the people in the universe. But fair enough. We don't have like a Darth Vader, or there's just people who are just outright, I'm evil, and and I'm in charge. I want to be in charge. And so Loki, even Loki's protested. Oh my God, I can't talk. Even Loki's protestations about like, I want to take over.
Yeah.
The time variant agency, or whatever the heck that thing is called.
Right.
When he's talking to Lady Loki, which is what the internet is calling her, by the way.
Which I approve.
Yeah. It doesn't sound right. It sounds like it's something that he thinks he should want.
Yeah.
But doesn't seem like he actually wants it.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
It's annoying. Look, I'm going to tell you it again. If we're not doing a Rogue Rage this week, but if I did a Rogue Rage this week, it would be, I'm not a fan of the weekly format. I understand why companies are doing it. I understand that that it keeps people engaged for more than just one weekend at a time. I get it, but
do you think that in the weekly format, this one is working better than others, or? I
don't see any difference between that and WandaVision or Winter Soldier.
Right.
It's just annoying. It just gets annoying because there's so much of a big deal made up about like each episode. And then you sit down and watch each episode, and then when the episode ends, and sometimes they end when you're really into an episode, sometimes they end abruptly.
Yeah.
And you're like, God damn it, now I gotta wait like a whole week to see this stupid shit again. So,
Bing.
So it's kind of I kind of don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. And sometimes it isn't worth it. Sometimes you'll get to episode 12 of a season, and you're like, there's no way. I'm already like almost halfway out the door. There's no way they get me back
Yeah.
In the theater and my butt back in the seat with this last episode. There's no way it happens, you know? So, it's...
Off the top of your head, do you know of other movies with Tom Hiddleston in it?
Skull Island.
Oh, that's right. He was in that.
Had Brie Larson in it also.
He was in that. You're right. I have to think about that.
And Nick Fury.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a real Marvel connection in that thing.
And it had Shea Wiggum, who played the sector boss or whatever in the Agent Carter TV show.
Okay.
There's a lot of MCU people in there.
Well, it's probably not coincidental, actually.
Probably not.
What year was Skull Island, off the top of your head?
I don't remember.
Don't remember? Let me see here.
2017, maybe?
I think... So it was definitely... Yeah, it was definitely post-Avengers.
Because Godzilla was 2014.
Okay. I don't remember much of Skull Island. I don't remember him in Skull Island. I remember that he was in it, though, now that you mention
Yeah, he was a star. It was his movie.
I'm trying to think of another film that he's been in, because I'm trying to wonder if he's as good an actor or he's just great as Loki. He's fantastic in this. He's so magnetic, right? I mean, he's so likable.
If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. Don't tell me how I feel.
I'm telling you, damn it. I'm telling you exactly how I feel.
That's if you like him, then you like him. That's you. I think he's good. You know, I'm not like whoa blown away by him, but I've always thought he was great.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought he was great in the role. He's made the role interesting because Skull Island is 2017. He's made the role very interesting because anybody else could play him would probably play him maybe a little too nice or a little too evil. Yeah. So he can't have a show of his own.
Yeah.
I think it's Tom Hiddleston.
Oh, is it Huddleston? I thought it was Hiddleston.
I don't know what his name is. I think it's...
You know, that's one of those things where we both A, should know, and B, now you've got me like wondering. Like,
but if you had let it go, nobody would know I said it wrong. I think it's Hiddleston's...
Yes, it is Hiddleston. I was correct.
I think it's his charisma that got him the show. I think it's because of him that he has a show. He can carry a show.
Right, and this is... So Owen Wilson's fantastic, but he's basically being Owen Wilson, right? Like, this is almost like Wedding Crashers Owen Wilson if he got a job at the Time Variance, you know. And it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, right? Like, I love it. I love that it's Owen Wilson as if he was Wedding Crashers Owen Wilson working for the Time Variance Authority. So I'm not like poo-pooing that. I love it. This is now what the.
Also, John C. Reilly was in Skull Island.
Him I remember in that. Because he was the crazy and
he was captain. Also in Guardians of the Galaxy. So
he would make who's the captain in Jaws that takes him on the boat?
Robert Shaw.
No, I know the actor, but I mean, what character does he play?
Quint.
John C. Reilly would make the perfect Quint.
No, you wouldn't.
He would absolutely. In a Jaws remake, I'd like to see John C. Reilly in the role of Quint.
There is no way that is no.
No to the remake or no to John C. Reilly?
First of all, no to a remake, and then why would you have John C. Reilly replacing Robert Shaw? That doesn't make any sense.
I just see it.
I know, but, you know. Should we be paying attention to anything you see?
I'm just telling you, I see it. I think that would be fantastic.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
I think that would be fantastic.
I don't think so.
You know. I don't even remember my original
entitled to be wrong.
So Owen Wilson is great. He's being Owen Wilson. This is now, what, the 5th time we're watching Loki? Let's count down. We got Ragnarok. We've got the original Thor. We've got Thor Dark World, right? He was in that. So that's 3 Avengers.
The Avengers, and then Avengers...
Infinity War.
Endgame.
I don't think he was in Endgame.
Yeah, because that's how he got to here.
No, wasn't he in Infinity War?
He wasn't.
Oh, you're right. No, you're right. He wasn't. You're right. So this is now.
This is how this show.
You're right.
Is happening.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
So this is now the 6th or 7th appearance by Tom Hiddleston as Loki, and I'm not tired of him. You know what I mean? Like, there's something about.
No, but I mean, I think the good thing about him is he's not over the top.
Right.
About anything.
Right.
He's not. And I love Jack Sparrow, but he's not Jack Sparrow.
Right.
So, you could probably watch him for a long period of time, and like I said, because he neither teeters all the way good nor all the way evil.
Right.
He can kind of ride that balance.
Right.
A little easier, but he's coming around though. You can see some things that as he's witnessing horrible events, and when he had that one tear in his eye when he found out that Asgard had been destroyed, that Ragnarok happened.
Yeah.
And then when he revealed it to Mobius, he revealed it as a revelation on the case.
Right.
But he was moved.
He was
affected by what he had learned.
Yeah. So. No, I agree. We know that he eventually comes around because in Avengers Endgame, at that point, he's literally, there's no games, there's no tricks. He's altruistically trying to save his brother.
Yeah, sort of, maybe.
Not for him, I think, right?
I mean, I think he was more in than out by...
Yeah. Well, he sacrificed himself, essentially, right? To try to defeat Thanos.
Yeah.
So, there's a redemption arc that he went through. We're getting a Loki that hasn't been there yet. Mm-hmm. Knowing what we know about...
he's capable of it.
We know he's capable of it. Would you assume the Time Variance Association knows about it as well? And that's why...
See, that's the thing about this kind of storytelling and this kind of element in a story, where like just people in some kind of bureaucratic, office system know everything that you have done versus everything you will that you will do, and everything that you may have done, and it's even if that wasn't part of the plan, they could throw it in as part of the plan. So sure, sure they know about it.
Right.
Even if that never comes up, I'm sure you could say they know about it.
Yeah, I think, but I think that actually plays a major role in this show, because I think one of the main arcs that we're going to see is this, again, similar arc, but maybe just done differently, in where Loki starts out as this trickster villain, and eventually gets back to that same place he was in Avengers Endgame before he was killed.
Yeah, maybe.
And I think it's going to be something Owen Wilson's going to reveal to him, and like kind of like, I knew all the time you were going to help. It's going to be, and it's going to feel great. I know it's coming, and it's going to feel great, and I'm okay with it.
Okay.
What?
It's speculation theater again.
I know. It's also my experienced eye for storytelling.
But the other side of it is that kills the character.
Possibly, yes. But think about it. Look at the parallel with Game of Thrones, right? You had Lena Headey's character, and his name is escaping me off the top of my head, basically, because I think we spent the last 2 hours trying to get our setup correctly.
Lena Headey,
Cersei and who and
Jamie.
Jamie, right? Jamie Lannister. He had this entire redemption arc, and it culminated with Brienne, and then the writers just threw that out.
He didn't, though. That's a television trope. In the books, he doesn't have a redemption arc. I know you're talking about the TV show.
Yes.
But basically, the redemption arc for him was him just coming to grips with the fact that he's not a good person.
Okay.
In spite of all the little good things that he does, and the fact that he saved Brienne, even that's even in the book, the bear pit situation. But he's not necessarily being redeemed, because you can't really be redeemed for throwing a child out of a window. And so people who like him and people who think he's cute want him to be redeemed. That's great, but I don't actually
no Kylo Ren here.
I actually think he was not on a redemption arc.
I think
I think you have to self-examine. I think that's just as important for a character to be self-aware.
Right.
But that's not necessarily redemption.
I think there's levels of redemption. I think when you're so far down...
Well, if there's a level of redemption, sure. But, you can't call it redemption.
But I can call it a redemption arc in terms of a story, right? A level of redemption.
You can call it whatever you want, because you might see it completely different. I just don't believe he's on a redemption
arc. The reason I said that Jamie Lannister, and I use that as an example, though, is that it seemed as if he was on a level of redemption arc to make up for the person he was.
Yeah.
And that it culminated in the Brienne when they consummated their relationship toward the end. And then the producers and the writers threw all that out, and he went right back to being who he was. He was still in love with Cersei. He'll do anything for her, and then they died together.
It's like, did they throw it out, or is he going right back to the person that he is?
No, and but my question to you, and the reason I bring it up, though, is would you say that he was more interesting, because we actually have an example now of someone that went through the arc, but then like a rubber band snapped back. Did that make him any more likable, less likable? Because I was enjoying his quasi-redemption arc in Game of Thrones, and I actually didn't like the fact that we had gone through everything just to have it snap back in place. Your point with Loki was, we don't know if he's going to go on that redemption arc, and is that going to make the character less interesting? I actually would argue that it makes it more interesting, that if he can actually follow through with it. Right?
What would they do with that character after that? You've got Thor. You've got heroes. He's not going to be a hero.
No, but he could
never. I mean, in the essence of the character, the trickster, the god of mischief.
Right.
What would he be if he was a complete hero?
I think he could be a foil, though. He could still be a foil without being an antagonist.
The best you can hope for is him becoming self-aware.
Okay.
So that at least there's a percentage of things you can believe he says that are true.
Yeah.
But he still is going to do various. And then, most writers, what they would do is that tease you to thinking that he was going to be coming around, and then he doesn't, like they did in Game of Thrones.
Right.
Because writers today are terrible.
I think Benioff and Weiss, yes, I agree. But I think in general,
I would not leave it limited to them.
No, I'm not limiting it to them. But in this particular
case, we've seen various movies, some Disney movies that have space and stars in them that have proven that the deficit in creativity and writing is not just with Benioff and Weiss.
Yeah, Spike would be another great example of someone that can be redeemed and actually become more of an interesting character.
Who's Spike?
In Buffy. Yeah, that's a great example of someone who can go through an actual redemption arc because he gets his soul back, and in their mythos, vampires have no soul, so anything he might have done as a vampire kind of gets excused because it wasn't the person. And then he gets his soul. He actually fought for his soul, unlike Angel, and he actually became a more interesting character when that was the case. Then they kind of made him a little boring because he was wrestling, because all the vampires have to wrestle with when they get their soul back, and they go, "Oh, I remember all the cruel things and horrible things I did."
Why do you think that's boring?
It makes the character depressed and grim for a little while, and then they have to kind of work through it, and they didn't do a great job of that until midway through the 7th season, and then finally he kind of redeemed him. He accepted what was done as a vampire and why it was done. They got to the heart of, with his mom and all that other stuff, and then at that point he became, back to being
neutered.
No, not neutered. He became an interesting character again.
Angel, he was neutered.
Well, his ultimate redemption arc was that he actually sacrificed himself to save the world, and that was his. And then Angel, they're like, "Hey, it'd be really great if we brought Spike on." And I agree, it was great when they brought him on. They didn't neuter him on Angel, though.
Okay.
What do you mean by that?
I just didn't think he was as interesting anymore. As one of the good guys, I just didn't find him as interesting.
I think that show got a sudden cancellation also because what ended up happening, they basically had to wrap it up in
26 episodes. I mean
22, and but I think I think it was the last like 6 or 7. So really, before they knew that they were wrapping everything up.
I'm just saying he was not interesting for 20.
There was a good episode where him and Angel were fighting.
Are you telling me I found those episodes good, or am I telling you I didn't find them interesting?
I'm telling you there was one episode where Spike and Angel were both fighting for that prophecy, and it was like one of the earlier episodes. That was very interesting. Otherwise, I would agree with you. I'm just agreeing with you. All right, what do you guys think? Spike, great redemption arc. Is Loki redemption arc boring? Are you bored or on board? I didn't even do it with Hassan because we're both on board. F it. I already know.
I told you I was on board last week.
I know.
And that
I'm continuing. I'm heartily enjoying the series.
And then I would shun any of your attempts to get me to continue to repeat that I'm on board. which I fulfilled again this week.
When we come back, we caught up with actor Jason Tobias last week, right before his new movie F.E.A.R. came out. It's on VOD and it is on streaming. You can get it everywhere. It's a zombie movie in the Great White North, but with a couple little twists and turns as we go along. We got to sit down with the actor, writer, and director himself and ask him all about it. We will sit on that interview when we come back. Welcome back to the Rogue Wav podcast. Happy to be joined by actor Jason Tobias, star of the latest movie to drop. It is called F.E.A.R, F.E.A.R, and that actually has to do a lot with the theme and the subject of the movie. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael, Hassan. Great to be here, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
And tell us about F.E.A.R and why I prefaced it with the periods after each letter.
So F.E.A.R is a feature. It's a survival thriller about a family that's stuck behind a wall, and it's during a pandemic where they're just in some extreme situations and circumstances. Lack of resources, terrible weather, and there's also these things called zombies that are attacking them. So take that into consideration while you got another rogue family that might be on the hunt for them, and you've got some great drama. F.E.A.R is an acronym. It's forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. It was a quote that I'd seen on the internet. I'd seen it on Reddit. I'd seen it in different places where I've gone. I mean, I think I've even seen it on like church billboards and other spots. But it always kind of resonated whenever I was working through the script and kind of like massaging the story of that the choices that we make are going to dictate a lot of the path that we take. I mean, you can, face that fear and run headlong into it, or you can back down from it and kind of let the consequences lay where they are.
That's very, very well said in terms of the framework for the movie. Now, you had mentioned the script, so you wrote it, you directed it, and you starred in it. So clearly, you had nothing to do with this film.
Well, let me back up. So, wrote it, co-directed with Jeff Reisner.
Okay.
Produced with Anna Bradley, and it was executive produced by Blair Pennington and Lucas Solomon. But yes, we all wore, a lot of hats. As an independent production company, you just have to do that because, manpower costs money. And in the independent realm, dollars got to stretch. So we're more than happy to wear all those hats. And I think everybody did a fantastic job because, they're great at what they do.
So take me through, what was the most challenging aspect for you individually wearing all these hats? What is it? What was it that you were most comfortable with?
Definitely acting. I mean, acting is just what the root of what I've been doing in Los Angeles for the past decade. So that was not difficult. What was challenging was being able to kind of switch off that brain when I needed to get behind the monitor with Jeff and we needed to focus on composition, framing, how we were going to cut certain scenes together. And also being able to watch the performance from a place of this is what we're going for, and letting the actors just be who they are, because that's part of the process. If you hire great people, you don't need to micromanage. You just give them little tweaks here and there. Like, hey, loved what you did there. Let's try this right now and do that. So it was just kind of turning that part of your brain off, but then turning it back on again. That was challenging, but I loved it. It was still a lot of fun to be able to do that. It was a challenge that I wholeheartedly accepted.
You mentioned the group collaboration. Where did the impetus for the story come from originally? Because I know it's the story itself is you and your team. So it wasn't just really, maybe, like Hassan and I are both writers. So, I mean, that's what we do, right? We just sit around and we write and stories come. But where did the impetus for the story come from?
There was an initial idea about this couple that rents a cabin in the woods, and they let this drifter in. And this drifter ends up torturing them. That was the initial what the story was. And then it started to evolve a little bit further into, well, if there's only 3 people in this film, it better be some good conflict, better be some good scenes, because how can you make 90 minutes enjoyable when you've only got 3 people talking?
Sure.
So it started to evolve more into the family, and then the backstory of who they were, what was going on. Children were introduced. And then as that started to happen, there was another addition of bringing another family in to really kind of let the audience play with, well, who's right and who's wrong here? Because depending on the lens that you flip this, you have to look at it from the vantage point of, well, what they're saying makes sense and what they're saying makes sense. They're just going about it in a different way. That was my intention of creating that between both families going at one another, is that they're both going after the same goal. They're just using different means to essentially get there. With Jeff coming on and us co-directing, he wanted to build up more tension inside the home with Desiree and Joe. So obviously, if he's bringing something to the story, you know, I want to give him that credit for sure. You know, I mean, that's implementation into story that if he doesn't give that, we don't have it. So that's where he comes on with story back.
You know, one of the aspects to this film that I really liked was that
I really liked it, Michael.
Yeah, no, one of the things I really liked was this is like a family situation. It seems as if obviously there's a zombie, you know, backdrop to everything that's going on, and obviously the weather plays into it, right? So it has a little bit of disaster, a little bit of apocalyptic tones to it, but it's really about a family, and it's a family that loves each other. Like it really. You know, it's amazing how many times now we see films where it's like this family can't stand each other. The brother and the sister are always at each other. The husband and wife, one of them cheated on the other, or, you know, something. And those are all valid story, you know, ideas. I just feel like it's always done. And this one really just felt like this was a tight knit, loving family. Talk to me about like the impetus for doing, you know, for doing something out of the ordinary by just making it an actual family that likes each other.
Right, doing something that, oh, you guys like each other? Yeah, I mean, the focus was initially making the Ethan and the Joe arc to show that, you know, even when things are good, they can be challenging and tough. Even when they're bad, they can be good, but they can be also challenging and tough. Riding that line of, you don't always have to dislike the other person, but you can have your conflicts. But it was a focus to make sure that whatever we saw between these two, we knew that there was something still holding them together. That no matter what, at the hardest point of their journey, there was still something that they were still holding on to, whether it was their connection to one another, whether it was connection to family, their children. Something brought them all back together to make them this cohesive, you know, group of four. So that was always part of the guiding theme that was going through, is not to separate them so much that like she can't stand him and he can't stand her, and, you know,
right.
He just off. That just wasn't even part of the equation.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, there was definitely, look, like any married couple, like any family in general, there's going to be times when you're disagreeing, but overall the disagreements never felt like it overshadowed the overall family dynamic.
I think she sold the standoffishness very well, though. When you guys come back from in the beginning, and Ethan is wounded, and so she, you know, as anybody in the midst of a zombie apocalypse knows, you know, there's no light. You can't take wounds lightly. There's no just slightly wounded in a zombie apocalypse. So there were a couple of scenes where, you know, where it's very visible that she keeps taking steps away from him, which really sold that tension really well, even though they were still kind of simpatico on what the next step is. There's a little bit of conflict on whether they should wait or not, but basically all that stuff is it all read as genuine to me, you know, like it sold it very well.
Awesome. I'm glad. I mean, and Marcy Miller is just an amazing actress. She's so present. She's so professional, and she just goes for it every time. And working with her is an absolute pleasure. So whenever we would discuss scenes prior to, you know, we wouldn't, you know, burn them to death. We wouldn't be like, hey, what does this sentence mean to you? No, it was more about, you know, what do you think here and there? All right, cool. What do you feel? All right, let's go have some fun. Let's go play, you know. And when you have such a talented actor, and Marcy, she just brings so much to the table.
Yeah, I thought you guys, it's a really great segue too, because I thought the chemistry you guys had was very genuine. Like it definitely, again, the family dynamic was what stood out to me, and it seemed like you two had a great chemistry. And it sounds like, you know, off camera, everything, you know, it flowed naturally from on to off camera.
Absolutely. I've known Marcy since 2015. Her and I did a movie called Most Likely to Die. It was from Mar Vista. And as soon as I met her, I mean, she's just this fun-loving, just like kick-ass actor. I mean, she every time she was on camera, I caught myself just being like, wow, she's totally tuned in right now. She's doing great work, and I wanted to work with her again. So we wrote this small little short for Star Wars for the opening premiere of Rogue One in Hollywood, and I just pitched her. I was like, hey, here's like 5-6 pages. I'd love for you to play this character. And she was like, yeah, I'd love to come out and play Star Wars for the day. And I was like, oh, you want to play Star Wars for the day? But, again, that's just her lightheartedness of approaching things with such a cool air of professionalism. Like she killed it. And then when I was writing F.E.A.R, I had her in mind to play Jo. She has this great ability to hold strength and vulnerability back in moments and let them bubble over so well. And they're so subtle, and they're so impactful. And when I sent her the script, I was like, hey, I wrote this. I'd love for you to check out the Jo character. Let me know what you think. And she got back to me. I think it was like a day or two. She sweated me out a little bit. Yeah, she said, hey, I love this character. If you're open to it, I'd love to play it. And I was like, well, actually, I am open to you playing this character. Whole point of me sending you the script.
Funny you should mention that.
We will get into Star Wars in a little bit because you got a great podcast with friend of the show Victoria Bennett that dives into it. But your acting resume is very impressive. A lot of like very well known TV shows, especially Rush Hour, Justified, Bloodlines. You're recurring on Days of Our Lives. What is the standout role for you? That if somebody comes up to you in a party and says, do I know you from somewhere? Which one are you giving to them? Which one of these shows is like the one you, not only are you giving to them, but you want to be like, yeah, I was on this one. Go check out this.
Yeah, I would say the one that I get recognized for the most is a movie that I did called Open Marriage on Lifetime. I think it's because it aired on this Lifetime network that is constantly running it in these kind of like marathon sessions.
Wow. Okay.
I've been at, Pinkberry. I've been at the post office, and I've had people do the whole, I've seen you with your shirt off and like you're in your underwear. And I'm like, that was in this movie. But if I'm talking about television, Dead to Me is one that I've gotten recently because the show is very popular on Netflix right now. Liz Feldman wrote and show runs that with Linda Cardellini, Christina Applegate, and James Marsden, but had a small bit in episode 7 on that. And some folks were like, oh man, I love that show. It's so fun and quirky and strange. So that's the one that is, as of late, being the
And which one's your personal favorite, though, of any role you've had, movie or TV?
Personal favorite? I mean, I love playing Ethan in F.E.A.R because I don't get the opportunity to play characters like that. That's the reason that I wrote him the way that I did, with these varying levels of vulnerability and strength and looking for redemption. I barely get the opportunity to read for parts like that. I usually read for, when I'm not, big beard and whatnot, I'm usually like a cop. I'm usually like a cowboy, a Viking, something rugged, something more, they call it like man's man, or, leading man roles and things, but I don't get a lot of layered roles with like these layers of emotion. So I really love playing Ethan.
There was there was definitely no running around in underwear in F.E.A.R.
No.
That was a little too cold.
No opportunities for that. All right,
there's a lot of man on man violence, though. I mean, charging a little army of zombies is. I would not call that weak.
No.
No.
So
next time, shoot it in your underwear, and then you're golden. You merge all worlds together, and they'll be like, that was the open marriage guy killing zombies.
Yeah, there he
is. We mentioned Star Wars before. We mentioned a Star Wars podcast. Tell the audience about this podcast. You co-host with Victoria Bennett, very friend of the show. She plays Bevan in Geek Play Love, and just tell us a bit about that podcast. And are you a Star Wars nerd or a Star Wars geek?
Ooh, that's a good question. When we broke down the definitions earlier, I would say I'm probably a Star Wars nerd. The intricacies of everything beyond like what has now been deemed canon versus expanded universe. But I mean, I think I can hold my own in certain things. Podcast on the through Dean Devlin's company. It's executive produced by Dean Devlin and Mark Altman. And we bring on folks to just talk about Star Wars. We try to lean towards people that work in the entertainment industry, because I don't know if there's anybody who works in entertainment that doesn't like Star Wars or has not seen Star Wars. It could maybe be a catalyst for the reason that they wanted to work in entertainment or get into whatever field it was respectively. But Victoria is a fantastic co-host because she brings so much levity to it. She challenges me, I challenge her. We her back and forth, and I couldn't ask for a better co-host. And we're always down to, chop it up. You guys should come on the podcast. We got a podcast.
Done. Well, I'll tell you right now, as a Star Wars geek, I will sit there and smile and nod. You need to do a new segment though, Stump Hassan, because Hassan is a Star Wars nerd. He'll shake his head. No, he'll shake his head, but he literally, I will bet lots of money that stumping him would be very, very difficult.
We are not here to talk about me. Don't put me in the middle of this.
Have some nerd on nerd violence. That's good stuff. A nerd off. You need a nerd off. You need a Star Wars nerd off.
We'll do it, man.
Okay. Here's one simple question.
Okay.
The expanded universe.
Okay.
Did they do right by the expanded universe to decanonize it, or should they have gone with a substantial amount of what was in the expanded universe for the sequels? Excuse me. Just in your opinion.
Okay. Speaking honestly, I think what they built in the expanded universe was fantastic. I think it gave the fans an opportunity to live with these characters beyond the screen and go deeper and further to what was going to happen beyond this, this destroying of the second moon space station of the Death Star.
Right.
I think that it was terribly unfortunate that we did not get a scene with Han, Luke, and Leia, at least in 3 sequel trilogy films, at least one in episode 7, the opening, have it be this climactic, huge battle opening scene, and just seeing Luke, Leia, and Han together. Man, I just think that it was a terribly missed opportunity. And what I'm liking now about what's happening in The Mandalorian and a lot of these like episodic shows, we're starting to get some of that expanded universe stuff coming back in, the Dark Troopers, the Darksaber coming back from Rebels and Clone Wars. And you're giving some of the fans that were fans of the original trilogy and just are having a hard time accepting parts of the sequel trilogy, you're giving them the ability to go, hey, they're hearkening back to, this, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, they're hearkening back to this. I mean, now we're talking about Thrawn, and we're talking about Ezra, and we're talking about people we're such huge fans of. I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but we missed a big opportunity to just take those stories and build further out from them. I think they were great foundation stories.
There is no right or wrong answer to the question, but that was the right answer.
This is why I would sit back and just watch you guys talk about it. I'd be like, Yoda's a nice.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much. Yeah,
Yoda's a good Muppet.
You geek.
I like him. He was amazing. I love the relationship between Mara Jade and Luke Skywalker. I love that they had, Ben Skywalker. I love that we had, Jason, Jaina, and Anakin. I mean, we have a lot of that. And yes, we have versions of that in the sequel trilogy. Like we have kind of characters doing this mashup, if you will, and moments that are like, this is kind of like that. Hey, the keys were passed off to Disney when on that contract. So
we like to play a bit. We have a segment called "If You Were the Showrunner." So that's a great question. If you were the showrunner, that's it, right? I mean, that's unfortunately we will never be in a position again to have breathed new life into these characters. Luckily, we get things like The Mandalorian that kind of come our way.
Well, I think if you have all your main actors, you're from the original trilogy, and they're all 32 years older, so there's a limited amount of what they are going to do or what they're willing to do on camera. Then to decanonize all the material that could have potentially come in the middle was a mistake, because now that's just 32 years we missed that they're not going to reflect on, and then they killed them all off. So it's all over. I mean, to me, it was a huge mistake. But who am I?
I think you are the voice of the most people who grew up being Star Wars fans. I mean,
there are rumblings. There are people.
Are there sequel defenders? Is that what it? Do we have? Are they the new prequel defenders?
As we've learned from the prequels, any kid who grew up with the sequels will consider them their Star Wars. So I mean that we'll deal with that. That happens, and that's fair, But no.
It's hard, man. It's hard to see. I mean, I'm also a huge fan of the Dark Horse comic series. Knights of the Old Republic. I love that.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. And when I heard D.B. Weiss and Benioff,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
When I heard they were attached to a Star Wars project, I was hoping that's what they were going to do. Was going to do a trilogy of those films. Obviously, they're no longer attached.
No, they got chased off.
They're like, Netflix, you're going to give us a boatload of money to not deal with this fandom?
Yeah. Why don't we do that?
Sign us up. Real quick, last question I have for you. I got it. It's not even a question; it's a statement. I love the name of your production company. It's Action Figure Entertainment. What is the mission statement for Action Figure, and where'd you come up with the name?
The name was just I pitched it to Lucas Solomon. I just said, hey, I think this is a cool name. I'm a huge action figure junkie. He likes toys. He's a big Mobile Gundam fan. He likes Transformers. I love Star Wars, Black Series figures. I've had He-Man, G.I. Joe, the whole nine. So we were like, yeah, Action Figure Entertainment. It's got a nice ring to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the mission statement of the company, it's to conceptualize, produce, and deliver high concept film and television. So we love action adventure, sci-fi. We love heady stuff like, Blade Runner 2049. Sorry, guys. Let me try to dismiss this. So I'm not sorry about that.
That's okay.
So yeah, we're big fans of sci-fi and action adventure. It's just, with that genre comes a cost. You have to be very smart about how you're shooting it unless you've got big cash behind you. But, we want to tell stories that harken back to the stuff that really inspired us, whether it's like The Goonies, The Explorers, Star Wars, Flight of the Navigator, Last Starfighter. Those are just some to name a few that I can think off the top of my head that when I saw these films on like VHS, I was immediately just taken back. Jesus, sorry. Shut that down. So yeah.
I'll do some modest editing. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Meaning I will run this exactly the way it happened.
It'll be perfect. You'll cut it up.
I just watched Raiders of the Lost Ark this week in the movie theaters for the 40th anniversary, and it just I was dumbfounded about just how they're not making films like that anymore. You know?
Hassan, I'm right with you, man. These are adventure movies that you would watch, and you would go on these quests, and they were fun. I tried to they tried to do Sahara.
It's funny you mentioned that word, though, actually. Adventure films.
Adventure, yeah.
See, no one actually phrases that. They call them action films. And movies. I think somewhere along the lines, it got, the idea of a quest, the idea of an adventure got overtaken by how much action can we put into this? Which, don't get me wrong, is cool. And it's a cool aspect to a film. But calling a film an adventure film is actually way more accurate.
Yeah. They tried it with Sahara with Matthew McConaughey, and I love personally National Treasure with Nicolas Cage. It felt like I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome. It actually made me re-interested in American history. I was like, oh, can I go and find a map or something?
Yeah.
And then we've had other stuff like Journey to the Center of the Earth, and we've had other films that have tried it. It just never hit the same. It's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just a combination of maybe the filmmakers at the time with, fantastic scores, great storytelling, cool scripts, fun locations, charismatic leading actors that are attached. I don't know.
Nostalgia and it's a little bit of us also, who we were when we first saw those films as young people, But for the most part, like as I'm watching it as an adult, I was still, I still had no problem going away, and traveling to wherever the movie was trying to take me. And there are still fantastic movies now. There's still great movies now, but they just, for some reason, they don't have that kind of heaviness, of largeness, that one movie had. Yeah, they're not as grandiose for some reason.
Jungle Book. Have you guys seen the trailer for Jungle Book yet with Emily Blunt?
Not yet.
I just saw it because, some of the theaters were open in New York, and we caught some films out there, and I saw it again. Scope, grandiose, big. You're talking set pieces that if they tried to shoot a lot of this practically, which maybe not some of it practically, but more than likely it's on a stage somewhere with VFX set extension.
Right.
It just doesn't really feel the same. It feels like you're almost playing a cutscene in Uncharted, or like a video game cutscene. You're just hitting X at the right time, or you're hitting, but I understand the budgetary limitations, even from a Disney standpoint.
Sure.
Something that big and cinematic on location. So, but it just, I don't know. I'm not judging it to say I would never see it. It just didn't feel like watching a trailer for Raiders. It was different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, maybe, Jason, maybe one day you will star. You will be that charismatic lead actor in the next great adventure film.
Yes. I love it. I've got an idea for a film like that too. I do have an idea.
All right. See, I love it. All right. Jason, thank you so much for being here. Jason Tobias, new movies F.E.A.R. Tell everyone where they can watch it and where they can consume it.
Yes, June 15th, we will be launching stateside here in North America. You can catch it on Amazon now. You can pre-order it. Your cable or your streaming provider, it will be under the day and date releases, so it will be coming up as a new release. You can rent it there and check it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to accept the invitation for that podcast. I'm telling you right now. This guy will kill it. We'll kill it. I will sit back with my popcorn.
We will have a mutually beneficial discussion about the greatest movie franchise of all time. That's how it will work.
There you go. Very diplomatic.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes, we did.
Jason Tobias. When we come back, more Rogue Wav podcast.
Want to thank our guest, Jason Tobias. Go check out F.E.A.R. It's on Amazon, VOD, anywhere basically you can stream movies. We talked a lot Loki today. We had a really great time, as we always do. Next week, we're off. That's right. Taking vacation. Do we deserve vacation?
You're taking a vacation. I am not taking a vacation.
Well, any vacation I take is a vacation for you as well.
It's just a day I don't have to come to the office. That's not.
Sounds like a vacation day to me.
Sounds like labor law problems to me.
Oh, well, we will be off for 1 week, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks. We will recap and break down 2 episodes. So you get a full 2 episodes of Loki to look back on the next time we meet. We'll be in studio. We will have a much better setup because now we've got it down bad.
So he says.
I love the fact that we talk about this as if the outside world understands the amount of prep work that went into this.
You're talking about it, not me.
That's right, actually.
I've kept my mouth shut about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, when the camera's on.
We will see you guys next week.
Rogue Wav.